court-mandated changes to the state's congressional districts means voters will see unfamiliar names on the ballot this year.
They sure will. One of them is incumbent Republican Patrick McHenry, who squares off with Democrat David Parker in North Carolina's new 10th congressional district. McHenry is the focus of our latest Commitment 2020 coverage. Bill O'Neill has his story.
No Democrat has come close to beating Patrick McHenry. He has won 8 straight elections by an average of more than 60% of the vote. Voters not familiar with this North Carolina Republican might think that he's nearing retirement after 16 years in office. But McHenry entered Congress at age 29. Now in his mid-40s, he's still one of the youngest members in the House. The average age, 58.
My concern is that we go back to those days where low growth and high unemployment was deemed the new normal. And I don't think that's an acceptable outcome. I think we need to have a much more optimistic and growth-oriented focus for policy, not a higher tax, higher regulatory environment that's going to limit people's options.
On his campaign website, McHenry describes himself as a conservative leader in Congress. But he's rated the least conservative member of North Carolina's congressional delegation. That comes from conservative groups Heritage Action and Freedom Works. His opponent, David Parker, criticizes McHenry for passing only a handful of bills during his 16 years in Congress.
I helped usher through the whole process and helped write the Jobs Act, which was signed into law by President Obama 8 years ago. That is a seminal piece of legislating that came through a divided House and Senate. That is something I'm quite proud of.
You make mention on your social media of the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage, and I'm wondering, do you support North Carolina ratifying the ERA amendment, Equal Rights Amendment?
I don't think it's necessary. I think a lot has changed over the last 40 years from the last time it was seriously considered. And so, therefore, if you look at landmark cases before the Supreme Court, I think it has mooted the point of a specialized amendment to the Constitution.
North Carolina is one of only a dozen states that haven't ratified the ERA, an effort started by the suffrage movement nearly a century ago. There is a vote upcoming in Congress on the decriminalization of marijuana, take it off substance or Schedule 1. Where do you stand on that matter?
Well, that's not all the bill does. As they've outlined, it would then expunge all records of drug offenses. And so it's a much broader bill than just a question of decriminalization. I oppose their efforts and I will vote no against this measure.
McHenry calls himself a strong ally of President Trump. On the pandemic, he says the president, quote, has done well in terms of regulatory relief and speeding up the process for a safe and effective vaccine. Do you think the president has demonstrated leadership on this matter?
Yes, I think he has.
On voting in the 2020 election, McHenry defends the president. Your reaction to the president's comments urging North Carolinians to vote twice?
Let's start there. What I heard the president say is that if you don't, if your ballot has not been accounted for via the mail, that you should show up and you have the right to show up and vote in person.
You don't believe the president was urging people to vote twice?
Well, I read the comments. I did not watch the video, but I read the comments and read the transcript. And my reading of that was that you have to verify that your ballot was collected, was counted when you mail it back in. That was his point. And then if it isn't, you can show up on election day and vote.
McHenry says he's seen no evidence of a slowdown in the U.S. mail.
I think this is largely a conspiratorial mindset that you have malignant actors. It has some structural economic issues that do not work. It's running a massive deficit. But those things predate President Trump's time in office, predates this political discussion and the virus and the nature of mail-in votes. And so I think this is a conspiracy theory among some of my Democrat friends who are trying to convince people to vote by mail.
McHenry says he's voted by mail himself in past elections. He says he's uncertain how he'll vote this year. When asked what entertainment has caught his attention during the pandemic, he mentions the book How Innovations Work. as well as the Disney movie based on the Broadway hit Hamilton.
I confess, I've listened to the music hundreds of times at this point, even before the Disney Plus release. So great musical, great story, and really a great immigrant's tale of having a major impact on early American history.
The newly drawn 10th Congressional District stretches from Lincoln County down near Charlotte up to Rockingham County on the Virginia border, and it includes parts of Forsyth County. Bill O'Neill, WXII 12 News.